Welcome, 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 welcome to Safe Space. This is your prophetic purpose pusher, Pastor D, saying it's good to be alive, it's good to be thriving. It is good to be in this sacred, safe space. I want to welcome you, each and every one of you, on every platform, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, what BuzzFeed, whatever, Apple, whatever platform you choose to engage this audience life vision. We just want to thank you and welcome you. And I'm going to ask you to do something else. Hit the share button, hit the like button, let us know how we're doing, and encourage somebody else to come into this space and let's just pull up a chair and let's talk like family. We're going to unpack some stories. And the reason we're at Safe Space is to talk about redemption, to talk about when there's bumps in the roads, when you've been hijacked, when your destiny has been hijacked, when you don't know it's being hijacked, when you are just ebbing and flowing, purposeless, and looking for life, looking for love, and coming up short. And so today I have two guests in studio. One is no stranger to you, and you have heard from the previous episode from Nykky Hampton, and you've heard from our pastor, Daryl Brown, who is so popular that we've been getting requests for him. Like, we want to know more, we want to hear more. Well, you got it, you got it. And so we're going to continue the story. I want to pick up from where we left off, and I want Nykky and Pastor Brown, and Nykky is a minister in our local church. And so that's why you got to listen to the end of the story. You just got the first part. And then Pastor Brown, who you heard his story, how God brought him through dangers and how he was locked down in the big house too, and how he's a military man. But, I love people to tell their own story because it's better when it comes out of their mouth. And so, Nykky, go ahead and introduce yourself again. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm Nykky Hampton. I am the wife of Jerry Hampton, the mother of two children, and so glad to be here to share Jesus. Thank you for having me.
Amen. And Pastor Brown, go ahead and talk to the audience.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you, Pastor Daryl Brown, and I'm a pastor at Charlotte Emmanuel Church of All Nations, and wonderful to be in the company of such great people. And it's an exciting time in the spirit and in the kingdom. And thank you for Safe Space. It's going all over the world. We want to help in this mission and help in the ministry, and also to be a part of. So I'm glad to be here.
Amen. Well, thank you for accepting the invitation, and thank you for understanding that this is safe and not being afraid, because when you've been delivered, you can tell your grace story. And I love these grace stories because it's a story of redemption. It's a journey that if you're not proud of your journey, you won't be able to embrace grace. Oftentimes, people want to shame you about your colorful past, but who doesn't have a story? Because you appreciate grace even so much more when you know that could have been you or that was you. Nevertheless, I love that nevertheless. Nevertheless, there was a plan and a purpose in spite of the valley of the shadow hanging over me. I had to run on to see what the end is going to be. So, Nykky, on the last episode, you talked to us about where we got, and I want to catch the viewers and the listeners that you lived in Rock Hill, South Carolina with your mom, and then you decided after high school, I'm going to come to the big city. And so you came to Charlotte and you started dancing, and you danced for 3 years. And in 3 years, you met your first husband in the club dancing, and he invited you to come home with me. If you're going to be my girl, my number one, my boo, my good thing, I don't want nobody else to be looking at that. But you danced and you wanted to let people know that this is where I come from, but I didn't stay there. And so you went to live with him and you were instant mommy because he already had been married and he invited you home. You move into the role, still young, moving from that environment of having to do whatever you have to do to survive. And now you're here and he said to you, will you marry me? And you said, sure enough. And now you got saved and you're still shacking up. And so you went to this new pastor and his wife and says, this man proposed to me and I want to get married. They said, no, nada, no, no, no. And you didn't listen. You passed the yellow light, the red light, and you just forged ahead thinking you knew better. And no, then you decide to go to the JP, up to the courthouse, a justice of the peace, and you got married and you had no honeymoon. You just moved into your role as instant mommy, new bride, being traumatized from being out there for 3 years dancing, and 5 months after being married, he is sent to the big house. He got locked up. And now you are a new bride, but single. Pick up your story.
Married but single, one of the roughest and toughest things that you don't go into a marriage thinking that you'll be losing your husband in any shape, form, or fashion. You're thinking that you're going to enjoy what you think is marriage, togetherness. And when he got locked up, my whole world changed. The children,
Like what? How?
because I was single and it was just me. So it was me having to pay the bills. It was me.
How you pay the bills?
I had a job as a property manager in the community in which I lived, at the apartment community. And so I didn't need him to take care of me anymore. Actually, the roles had changed. I was taking care of him.
Oh, so you were just gonna spot in the books, taking care of him. So now he done handpicked you, he done groomed you, right? And now he handpicked you because you're young. He's been married before. He now got some kids,
Yes.
and so he handpicked you. You're young and dumb and impressionable, and now you just want to escape this dancing life.
Yep.
You got married to him, and now that he's groomed you into what he wants you to be, you are now taking care of him.
Yes.
Okay.
And the children went back with their parents, or with their mom. And it was me alone. And working, going to church. I got more.
Were you feeling shame?
I was extremely ashamed.
I mean, what did your church folks says on that, when you were going? I know the pastor, kudos to the pastor. We're not calling any names.
Yes.
Kudos to the pastors. They supported you. They were there. But did you feel any shame or?
Yes, I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. While he told me no, the whole community didn't know that he told me no. It was in private where he told me no. So they really didn't know. They saw a ring, but they didn't see him.
They saw a ring, but they didn't see him. almost like Pastor Brown, with your story. And I want you to chime in at any time. Feel free when you're led that because you were married, but your bride had to go to a island to work, and so you are married, but you are by yourself.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you're married, you're newly married, but your spouse had for job requirement had to
Yes.
go to the Caribbean to work. So here you are too. You are married, but you are actually single in the sense of by yourself. You're married, he's locked down, and Pastor Brown can talk about it because he's been in the big house, so he knows. And so here you are taking care of him.
Yes, ma'am.
So now you're working, taking care of his house because it ain't yours.
Yep.
His apartment,
Yes.
okay? And you're taking care of him.
Yes.
So talk to me about that emotionally. You're going to church, and so how long did he stay locked down?
He was given 25 years. And
25 years.
he was looking at 25 years, and he ended up doing 3.5, 4 years.
So 3.5, 4 years. How did you, other than work,
Yes.
how did you mentally, or were you so involved with him and his care that you forgot about you again?
I took this time for the 3.5 years that he was gone. I took this time to seek God.
Okay.
This is the time where I learned and I saw God in ways that I've never seen He made a believer out of me. Because it was the time where I sought the faith of the Lord. I read, I prayed, I was
But
involved
he's in
in
the
ministry.
background.
He was in the background.
But you're taking care of
I
him.
was taking care of him.
So what was he saying to you about your newfound faith and your relationship now that he groomed you, but now you're invested in another unseen relationship? How did he handle that?
He encouraged me
Okay.
because he knew he needed it too.
Okay.
And it was never a bashing or a jealousy or anything like that. It was do what you got to do to survive.
Okay.
And I did that. And so it was not ever a time where I felt like I couldn't or it was a hindrance from that area. He was grateful that I was even present because when you're locked down, a lot of people leave you.
All right, Pastor Brown, talk to me about that. I mean, is that true?
Oh, yes, definitely, because of the stigma attached to it. It's not just that you're housed in a different place, but it's almost like the stigma that comes with it is that you're defective. And to have someone that can support you in that defective state, it's almost like that's a hope or inspiration that's beyond what a normal human that hadn't been in that situation. But also to have someone that's saved, because a lot of individuals have concubines. So, they
Not
might
the
have 5 or
concubines.
6 that they got to get that store box money from.
Oh,
So, it's a conglomerate of whoever, whatever, but
educate me here.
yes, that's how that prison.
We doing
mentality.
concubines still?
Oh, concubines.
Okay.
You gotta have them because that's your support.
Mm.
So a person without it is even more defective. But to have someone that's saved is almost like a safety net.
Mhm.
Because you're dependent upon this person to not seek someone else.
Oh, it's a whole game.
Yes.
Oh my
Because
goodness.
the other ones running. They might be with your homeboy. So whatever your mentality is I know you telling me something on the phone, but I have no way of making that a surety. But I got another concubine that's over on the other side. So I'm playing even though I'm incarcerated. But when that person that is safe, secure, of course, that's your safety net.
My goodness, did you all hear that? My goodness, so we've learned something new. So now he's locked down. You're doing that. He did 3.5 years and he's coming home.
Yes.
Okay, talk to me about the welcome party. He's coming home. You're saved, but you're married and you're waiting for your man that you've been taking care of. And he's been making sure he's encouraging you in the faith because he knows now Ain't nobody hitting that.
Yes,
Could I say that?
you did.
Okay. Okay. Nobody. Oh, God. Oh, so now he coming home to his prize.
Yes.
Okay, talk to me when 3.5 years he comes home.
Super exciting time because at this time I've matured a lot more in my faith.
And you gonna get him Jesus.
Oh yes.
Okay, talk to me.
And so I was very grateful for the community that I was in because they did support us along the way. And that coming home time was great for many reasons than one.
Of course.
I was told that I couldn't have children. But soon as he came home,
You had a party.
I had a whole party.
I had a whole party.
And I was pregnant.
Yeah, so I hope he didn't have any concubines. So now he came home after 3.5 years. He's good and strong.
Yes.
So now the impossible becomes possible.
Very well.
God smiled on you,
Yes.
and you came up pregnant.
I came up pregnant with
Okay.
my daughter. And I'll say this too, that during the time that he was locked up and he saw my progression and my faithfulness to him and my work and what I was doing in the kingdom, and my commitment to the Lord, let me just say it that way. My conversation, everything about me began to change. He got saved while he was in prison.
Amen.
And he got saved, but you think that you're doing the work of the Lord, but you haven't dealt with the trauma.
Right.
You are working and you are worshiping, but the trauma
Right.
still hangs
Mhm.
over like a cloud on a rainy day.
Yes.
It's hanging, but you're having a good time right now because you love the Lord now.
Yes.
He's got saved.
Yes.
He got saved,
Yes.
and now so you come in, you're pregnant, and now you're a perfect family.
Yes.
But he have a prison mentality. Talk to me about that.
Well, yes, anytime when you're housed, it's more than just being in a situation. And it's a lot of spirits. It's really things that you can't imagine. And you can converse with the outside, but you got to deal with what's on the inside. And it's all about, well, I got a release date, but those guys in the prison's not going to let you just walk out free. So you're guarded and saying certain things, acting in certain manners, but it's really like you're being constricted, like a boa constrictor. And in that sense, and I'm not saying in your case,
Yes.
but they have what's called jailhouse religion.
Uh-huh.
So the closer I get to my release date, I get more religious. I get more ingrained in a faith or in something that I know that this is the right way to go. This is going to help me correct my past mistakes. I'm going to make a vow, a solemn oath that I'm going to commit myself to the relationship in all of these different areas. And all that you focus on right now is staying away from the trouble.
Man, that is good. So now, thank you. That was great insight. Chime in at any time. And so now he is home, you're pregnant, and you all are going to church, a happy family.
Yes.
Talk to me about, did the train derail or it came chagalaga, chagalaga, chagalaga?
Oh, the train derailed.
Oh, it did.
It did.
Well, you're saved and you love the
I was
Lord.
saved and loved the
And you
Lord.
got prepared for 3.5 years.
Got prepared for 3
He
years.
got saved in the jailhouse.
Yep.
And you chagalaga, chagalaga.
Yep.
Okay, and how did the train derail?
So the train derailed when he started going to a different ministry. He started in the ministry. When he came home, we were in the same ministry. And then he separated himself because there were certain beliefs that he didn't believe in, that were taught in the house that he couldn't fashion himself with in his mind. And so for that purpose, he started going to a different ministry. Where he didn't believe in women pastor, didn't believe in tithing, there's different things. And so it was a jailhouse religion. And some things took place, but there were other things that was just not, something was off. And nevertheless, he started going to a different ministry and wanted me to follow him. And I would just, ask in prayer, like, Lord, should I move? Should I leave? And I just could not come to peace to leave where I was. And so I didn't. So the separation took place. And there again, I was married but single.
Okay, so you're in the same house,
Yes.
but one is going to a traditional church and one is going to a traditional church.
Yes.
Okay, so here the colliding, and so now the disagreement,
Yes.
but the trauma is still there.
Oh, yes.
Okay, talk to me.
And then more trauma occurred because then I found out about infidelity.
Oh, so Pastor Brown, talk to me again, chimed in. So here is this young man, he got saved in jail. His lady done kept herself,
Right.
and he loved that because that prize is mine. That's my wife.
Yes.
She ain't stepping out. He came, he went to church for a minute. He didn't like everything, challenging the pastor, challenging the word. He went to a different church,
Right.
but he's still doing his due because he's not what?
Well, the cost of freedom.
Mm.
Because incarceration again brings about the taking away of freedom. But when you're released, it's almost like letting the dog off the chain. So it's not that I'm bound, but there's a cost to freedom.
I like that.
Free is not free.
I like that.
And that cost that you have to pay is one that says that 3 years that I was locked down for, I need to make up for. I can't be bound down to just someone just saying, okay, you're the one. No, because I'm free. I'm actually looking and searching for who I am. But it's almost like just being released out into the wild. And one thing that you mentioned, because what prison does is prison basically gives you the masculinity and the toxicity that's in an incarceration or in a facility. You got the aggression. When these individuals come out, generally they look for like a Muslim type figure or they look for a masculine type figure, almost like a dad.
Okay.
And that part will say that now I got a man up. But generally that brings with it infidelity.
Oh, so now, thank you. So now how did you find out that he was stepping out on you after you kept yourself, you're saved, and he's challenging the word you're getting, and you found out that he is being sowed in his royal oats?
We were together for 10 years. So after he did his years in prison, and he came home.
So he had baby at year what?
Baby was instantly.
So he spent 3.5 years.
Yes.
And baby was instant. So in the 3.5 year period, you got pregnant.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
And so he goes to this other ministry, and I'm in where I'm at, and I was at work one day. Well, actually, I'll start from here. I was cleaning my home, and I remember walking through the house praying, and I literally said to the Lord, I said, you can tell me, I don't care what it is. You can show me something's off. I don't know what it is, but something's not right. And prepare me for what you show me.
But he was coming home every night.
He
was playing the perfect husband. Yes. He was doing the God talk.
Yes.
He was loving you. You guys
Yes.
were intimate.
Yes.
Nothing on that, but in your knowing,
Yes.
in your knowing,
Yes.
you knew something was off.
Yes.
Okay.
Because sometimes we can pray so much when we protect people.
Okay.
And we cover them so much. But at that moment, I was just saying, God, I relinquish whatever covering I have so much where I don't blind myself. Show me what it is I need to know so that I can be free from anything that I should not be getting into or wasting time.
So was there argument, yelling, any of that? He was just smooth as butter?
Smooth as butter.
Okay.
Smooth as butter. And so I get to work the next day after saying what I needed to say, talking to the Lord. I get to work the next day and I hear the Lord say, go to your phone bill. And he take me to the phone bill, and I look at the bill.
And you're the breadwinner.
I'm the breadwinner.
Okay.
I look at my phone bill, and I can see. He shows me the phone number. He said, take that phone number and Google it down to a picture.
Wow.
I Google it down to a picture, and come to find out it's a girl that I danced with.
Okay, so he
Years ago.
he never left the club.
Never left the club.
Oh, he never left the club.
Never left the club.
So he got you from the club, but he never left the club.
Yes.
He took you home, but he never left the club.
Yes.
So it's a girl that you've been.
It's a girl that I was extremely familiar with, and I knew exactly who she was. So I called him on his job, and I said, hey, is there anything you need to tell me? And he said, no. I said, well, we'll talk when we get home. I instantly called my pastor and shared with him what I learned. And my pastor was like, okay, we'll talk. He prayed with me. I disconnect with him. My husband calls me back at the time and he says, you're right. I'll see you when we get home. You're right. He admitted it right then and there. I'm on my job in front of my computer. I couldn't handle anything else that took place that day. I had to leave. I went home and
You were
I
devastated.
was devastated. I was more trauma.
Okay, so you were devastated.
Yes.
And because you have a perfect world
Yes.
that you created, you're praying for your man, you're working, you're going to church. I mean, you doing everything, making sure you became God to him.
Yes.
And you were blinded. And here he comes and he says, look, I'll see you at home.
Yeah.
Because you done Google something and you see this girl that you used to dance with, and you know she got the goods too. I guess,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So
Yes. And so when we get home, we are in our bedroom and he sits on the bed and we begin to talk. And there is not any arguing or anything like that. He began to share and I end
what
up.
do you mean begin to share?
He began to tell me or talk to me about why.
No, why? He first says, look, you're right.
Yes.
I'm sleeping with this girl.
Yes.
And what? What's the explanation?
Well, the explanation is we're different. We're different. You're over at this church. You didn't follow me to this church.
So I cheated.
I cheated.
Oh, okay. And he said what?
And so at that moment, I wanted to go off. But
Did you call?
I did not go off. I felt unction in my heart. I fell to my knees and the Lord said, tell him you forgive him. And I said, I don't want to. This is me talking to myself within. So I'm on my knees in my bedroom crying because all at that moment I saw a soul. I didn't even see.
You're being religious. Yeah, anyways, you're I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I mean, yeah, go ahead. You forgive him. Yeah. I don't have that in me, but yeah, you know, I don't have that in me, but you do. So you're the better person. Go ahead. I'm tipping my hat off to you. So you just said, God, forgive him. I forgive you. You're shutting up. I waited for you 3 years. I'm a child. And I Googled and it said dancer. I know her. And I just forgive you. Okay, go ahead. It's your story.
Yeah, it was. I tell you what, there were so many mixed emotions and things that were taking place at that time. I was new still in my walk
yes.
with the Lord and learning the voice of God all at the same time while trying to be faithful to someone who's not faithful to me and not understanding. And then, but all still trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
In the wrong situation. So at the end of the day, when I was on my knees and I had to say, I forgive you. I'm like, Lord, I don't want to. I want to blame. You know, like I want to tell him about himself. And so while I did give him some of that, I did tell him I forgive him because at
you did give him some of it.
I guess.
Okay, because you're a black girl.
I
was waiting for that. Because you're like, I mean, we know you're saved, we know you're a minister, but you're just like, I just didn't believe it. I'm sorry, but I just didn't buy it.
Well, I did.
Okay, I know you did.
I gave him some of it, but I didn't give him
all
what
of
I
it.
wanted to give him. Yeah. Because at that time he renounced his faith right in front of me. And at that moment, all I saw was a soul.
Oh, so he renounced
his faith. He renounced his faith right there in the middle of our bedroom.
Okay, so he knocked up another lady.
Yes.
And now he renounced his faith.
Yes.
And he's telling you I did it.
Yes.
And this woman is pregnant.
Well, she wasn't pregnant.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay, yeah.
And so at the end of the day, I was just thinking, okay, God, this is your son. This is over. I don't know.
Girl, you are.
I was trying. I was new in faith.
Oh, yeah, you're so sweet. I understand. Oh, sweet, like sugar syrupy. I know. Go ahead. Tell me the story.
And so, you know what? He leaves.
Okay.
And
he renounced his faith.
Yep.
He leaves.
Yep.
You forgave him.
Yep.
But you're devastated.
I am.
Pick up the story.
The marriage never worked. And it did not work. At the end of it, he could not come to grips. He could not forgive himself. He could not get over the fact that I was still present. He couldn't get over the fact that I had a staying power, that I was still present. I was that still present person, staying power girl who still claimed the name of Jesus, who professed his name. No matter what I was going through, I was still that girl. And to him, I think it messed him up.
You were the girl that you thought you needed to be. but you were traumatized.
Yes.
So you were working on automatic, traumatized, but the outward thing, the covering, the cover that you operated on is you were afraid to leave because trauma make you think that you're going along, but it's because you're afraid to leave.
Yeah.
You're afraid of what the unknown is, and so you'd rather stay in work. I know you forgave him. You have staying power, sticking power, lasting power, like most women do. They are not going to deal with the heart issue. They're going to put a covering over it and just move on. Because as a woman, when you're violated, and Pastor Brown made a good point about concubines and taking on a religion before you come out because freedom costs. And you now was going through the motion of what is expected community wise. Because being married was important, more important than dealing with the trauma. Because being married to you, you've arrived, right?
Yes.
So you take the abuse, you'll take him missing in action, you'll take that he's sharing you now, and you'll call it spiritual. You call it standing your ground because you're doing everything you can to survive,
Yes.
but you don't want to lose this that you call status.
Yes.
You don't want to lose, you have a ring on your finger, you were dancing before, so your history is haunting you and haunting your present and making your decision seem spiritual, right? Because again, pain and shame causes us to act out of character. And so what we do is we put on another act. This is not the real me, but I'm gonna show you I'm gonna stay because I'm afraid. You're not saying that, but I'm gonna stay because I'm afraid. I'm gonna stay because I'm a married woman. I'm gonna stay because I'm in church and I'm married. So I want to put the front up, the face up. But at home, I'm dying.
Mm.
At home, I know that I'm not the only one, but I'm staying because I'm gonna get him saved. I'm gonna pray to Jesus, even though he renounced his faith. I'm gonna hang in there. I'm a big girl. Talk to me about that.
That was so it was rough. And I say it rough from the perspective of you're exactly right. I did do what the community and what I thought, and it was a cover, but no one ever talked to me about trauma. I never knew anything about having to deal with any of those things, not until I got to See I Can.
Okay, so you were with him. So you were with him. How did you transition now to becoming a healthier version of yourself? Because you're doing everything. You are holding up the marriage.
Yeah.
You know, my hat's off to you.
Yes.
Because I'm not built like that. Okay, I have all the forgiveness that the Bible tells me about. But I want you. It's just me, right? Forgive me. It's just me, all right? Pray for me, all right? I just don't put that in me, right? Sharing. I mean, this is not a community event. I mean, this is still death do us part. If we want to part, we part. But we don't be given a part of ourselves while we together, okay? We're not doing that, right? And so here you are, because you're maintaining a faith.
Yes.
Nobody's told you about trauma. Nobody's told you about, he don't have to be like this, but you were willing to stay there and do and go through all this stuff just to say you're married. Okay, talk to me.
If it was, and my perspective became, Lord, if you have me to do this, I will stay. I didn't know anything about my own identity. I didn't even know who I was.
Yeah.
I just knew I needed to survive because I've had to survive all my life.
I like that. Pastor Brown, talk to me about that survival epidemic. Let's talk about that. We're going to pick up your story, get back to your story, but let's talk about the survival mode now. So, because you've been behind the big gate, so the survival mode. Nykky just talked about she's in survival mode, but she don't know.
Right.
Because that's all she knows. I left home and I have been surviving. I had to dance to survive. This man came. I'm in marriage and I'm fighting to survive. I'm in church and I'm fighting to survive. I'm in the community because I have to maintain this presence about myself because I'm not even sure who I am.
Right. And not only that, because I had my first wife, we had issues similar. But when I went into survival mode, I went into fight mode.
Mm.
And as a male generally will see if it's a fight in this woman, because the fight will create not just the image, but the fight will create something almost like a feud.
Mm-hmm.
So when the woman goes into survival mode, she goes into the struggle. When a male goes into that survival mode, which he was in survival also,
Mm-hmm.
because he's not just saying that I want to come out and fail, but I believe that sense of a male, we have that survival mode that says I'm not going to struggle. I'm going to actually go out there and conquer something.
Yeah, because you got concubines.
Right. Oh yeah, I got options.
Yeah.
So and
you're not going to tie me down.
Right.
And you're not going to bring me to religion.
Right.
You're not going to tell me what to do.
Right.
I just came out of the big house and they told me what to do for
Yeah.
3 years. And now I come home, you're going to tell me what to do. I got to go to
Yeah.
this church. So I'm making all the excuses.
Yes.
So because you didn't follow me, I done got one of my concubines.
Yes, and let me speak to my situation.
Yes, sir.
I also had religious leaders that backed me up.
Hmm.
So I didn't create a lane, but I literally had people that said, well, that's okay. You got to get that part out.
Oh.
That's okay.
So-
you can come back.
Woo.
Hey, you can
Go
come
out there
back,
and
go
do it.
do whatever you got to do and come back and talk to me. Because they were involved. And like I said, these are masculine figures, so they're in a survival mode also. So I'm just speaking from my own situation.
Yeah, thank you.
So it's not just that, I'm doing something that may not be righteous, or may not be holy, but my religious leaders were telling me that this is part of life.
Oh, the manhood stuff.
All the manhood stuff.
Yeah, go
So
get
hey,
it.
bro, you had it rough.
Go get as much as you can.
Yeah.
Because you had it rough.
And they're saying, well,
Just release
keep the
yourself.
ball and chain.
Yeah.
So you need to go do whatever you got to do, because hey, as that part of you, you can come back and we can talk about it or whatever. So that was in place.
Mm.
But the struggle that I was dealing with was, instead of growing and maturing, I was diminishing.
Spiritual pygmies.
Yes,
Little
going back to
a grown man in a
little piece.
little pig.
So it's like, go for it, but it's no relief.
No relief.
And I don't know about the situation, but like I said, for me, it got worse.
Oh my goodness. So here Nykky is, and she is doing the best she can,
Yes,
almost trying to be God to this man,
yes,
Pharaoh,
Yes.
like being God to this man because she wanted so badly. No matter what, you mess up, you
Right.
told me, whoops, you got caught, but I can deal with this.
yes,
Let's deal. I can, I know what you're doing, but as long as you don't bring it in the house, I'm good.
yes. Could I say one more
Yes,
thing?
sir. Help yourself.
Two, we also have to just, to me, I think we need to embrace what the culture is saying.
Oh.
Because the culture is saying two different things.
Hmm.
And I'm talking about the church culture.
How's that?
Well, because number one, we all appear to be spiritual, but we're struggling.
Hmm.
We're surviving. We're coming to church because we're surviving. We're not coming to church because we have a spiritual attachment to something. We're struggling. So church is my way of saying, God, please take this off of me. I want relief. And the spirit man is saying, no. The spirit man is saying, you go to God for yourself. Don't let the struggle cause you to come to God.
Don't let the struggle be your God.
Right. Because I miss the main important ingredient, that God loves us.
Because your relationships were so fractured.
Right.
And so to come into a personal, intimate relationship with the Lord when all your relationships were fractured, it's like, oh my goodness. I'll accept religion,
Yes.
but this relationship about intimacy, about this oneness, about being imaged by God is far fetched because here you're doing the right thing. Here you are holding it together. Here you are trying to find what your image is.
Yes.
There's an image bearer,
Right.
but it's like all my relationships have been fractured.
Yes.
So how do I accept this unseen
My
relationship
God.
that's called the Lord and come into intimacy with Him when I have no examples? Here you have the church culture where you are from, Pastor Brown, telling you, get it out.
Yes.
You can go do whatever. Here you have this church culture like you are a perfect married woman. Okay, have your kid. You look good. You're volunteering. You're serving. You look good. But there's a mess at home. There's a mess at home. And so here comes the trauma. When did you make a decision to say enough?
At this time, I transitioned in ministry, started coming and joined See I Can, this joined a beautiful house under the leadership of you, Pastor, and
And I
Bishop.
saw you and said, what?
Sit down and air out, and what you say, dry out. You
I
say,
said, sit down. No. Let me not tell you all this story. Let me tell you something. Let me tell y'all something. So here comes this spiritual woman.
I saw it.
I sing on the praise team. I said, but what I need you to do is sit and dry out. I don't care about your gift. I care about you. And you look like you've been traumatized. Now pick up the story.
Mm.
and in addition to what she said to me was, gird up the loin of your mind.
You gird up your mind. You're just soft and puddingy. What is this? I know. Like, what is this? Hey man, I was like, oh come on, stop. Gird up the loins of your minds and start fighting. Fighting in the spirit like you're proclaiming that you're walking in the spirit. Fight. And I said, sit down and dry out. I don't need your gift.
Yeah.
God don't need it. We don't need it. You don't need it. Get healed.
Yes. And this is
And you
what-
didn't understand
And
it.
I did not know anything about it. I actually had to go do research and find out what was a loin in the first place. And I'm so grateful for our house because it is where your skills and counseling and the nurture in the house, the word in the house found me. And this is where I was able to focus on me and not anybody on the outside. It was deal with this log that's in your eye so that you can help those on the outside.
And I told you, I said, don't come around here sharing where you've been yet
Yes,
until you're free.
yes.
I said, you said, oops, I made a
I
mistake.
made a mistake.
I started telling people, and I said, do you see that they're treating you according to your past
Yes.
and not
Mhm.
your future? Do you see that they've already labeled you in how they associate you and how they speak to you because they think they know your story? And I said, don't share your story until you have mastered your past and you ran into the Lord. And when you're free from it, then nobody can use it as a hammer and imprison you because now they're shaming you again. There's a silent shame that goes on sometimes in ministry where people think that's not my background. I was married since I was 2. I met my husband in church. And I praise the Lord for your testimony. I'm giving you a hand clap. Praise the Lord. We celebrate that, but the diversity of stories, we have to embrace the story so we could get in the glory, or else we will have a masquerade and we would be pretending and hypocriting and doing all this thing that the blood is available to free us.
Yes.
And we keep the pain, we keep the shame, we sing the Hosanna songs, the praise songs, but guess what? It's putrid.
Yes.
It's pungent. It's dead flies are in our ointment because nobody has told us that you're operating out of trauma. You're loved by the Lord, but your trauma is triggering all your response. I remember one time I have to tell Pastor Brown, I said, you're worthy
Yes.
of your marriage.
Yes.
You're worthy of the relationship.
Right.
I said, act like a son. and not act like that you are the prodigal,
Yes.
because you're worthy. And if you don't see yourself worthy to have had this bride that you've given up your life for, then mentally the devil is always going to take you back to your past.
That's right.
And same thing, I told you, I said, we got to do something about you, because I ain't never seen nothing like this. You know me. I ain't never seen anything like this. First of all, you're going to get healed.
That's right.
Let's talk about trauma.
Yes.
You're traumatized. Where's that little girl? You got stuck at 9, and the prophetic word started to come and started to peel away all this soft talking, pain, all this. I don't want to disturb anybody. I just love everybody, and the Lord is good and worthy to be. I said, cut that out, and let me hear your real voice, okay? And through coming to counseling, and then you were brave enough to say to your first husband, like, this is it.
That's it. Sitting in service one Sunday, and my bishop comes up to me and he stopped service. And he said, "Stop playing house." I knew then that was it. His time was up. And we divorced. And I began to air out even more. I began to count, you get to teach me and peel things back. And I just began
And
to
rebuke your butt.
Yes, you did. All of that. I got it all. And I'm so grateful.
Because you were
our
so
house.
whiny
Yeah.
and so puny and so like, hey, just run over me. I love everybody. Of course I'll do that and I'll do this.
Yeah.
And it was that trauma of wanting to be accepted because you had not let go of your past. And shame was the bracelet you were wearing, and it shackled you in the response you didn't want to respond to. So you were saying yes to everything because you wanted to look like the good girl.
Right.
The good girl you had in your mind. The good girl that you pretended to be, knowing that he who began a good work, and that once you had accepted Jesus, you were perfect, and that you entire wanting nothing. But your trauma, the voices in your head was telling you that play the game, play pretend. So you became a victim of the world you had created until it started tumbling down.
Yes.
And the walls start tumbling down. Then you start feeling.
Yes.
Then you went to the opposite.
My God.
Talk to me about that. You went from, yes, anything to like, I don't want to do that. Okay, now talk to me, because sometimes when you're dealing with trauma and as you're dealing with your life, the pendulum swings, okay, because you're depressed,
Yes.
you're in a mess.
Yes.
I mean, you're traumatized, you're sharing your man, but you're playing, doing all this stuff, you're surviving. You don't know you're surviving. You know, you're in a survival mode. It's like you went to war, but you don't know the war is over. It's in your head. And everywhere you go, they're reminding you there's a war going on. There's a war going on. And then you know the pendulum swing. And so now you are like, okay, I don't have to take this. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. So you move to the other side.
Yes.
So your no became
A hard no.
a hard no.
And I was so grateful for our house because you begin to teach me about boundaries and how to let the good in and let the bad out and set up these healthy things, healthy, not walls, but gates so that you can see. And so.
And I said to you, okay, so you danced.
Yes.
Okay, so you went on the pole. Okay, you did all that. Okay, you had to survive.
Yes.
Okay, so now sit in that and just look at it.
Yes.
It's a part of the chapters in your book, but it's not the final part. So sit in that and own it, because it's your story, and feel it. And be a part of it, and says, you know what, girl, you did this, but this is not who you are.
Yes.
And who I am is greater than what I used to be. So we had to sever that dancer girl. We had to back off some people that knew your story that was coming and trying to say, Pastor, she was a dancer. I said, and you were what? And you were what? or you are what? Pray for me, saints. And so now here you go. And so you had a hard no. And it's okay to cry because you're looking, it's painful. And you spend 10 years trying to hold a bag. Spend 10 years trying to be perfect Patty. Perfect Patty doesn't exist, sweetie. They lie to us. There's bumps in the road, but it doesn't mar you. If a $20 bill is crumbled, it still has its value. And what you went through may be devaluing, but it didn't devalue you. And so now you're in a ministry, and I told you, sit down and get healed. Go get that little girl, and get the no, but you went opposite. You went to a hard no. I was gonna say a soft no. You went to a hard no, just like with Pastor Brown. When he got married, he disappeared from us. He went from a faithful man. I mean, the doors of the church, he would open and close the church. And so he went from a faithful man to a missing man. And I was like, is that thing so good that I can't find? Because we couldn't find the man.
Mighty God.
What is the difference? Yeah, he is captivated by love. He's intoxicated by love. And this girl loved love. She's not in love. She loves love. But this man is intoxicated that a young filly loves him. We couldn't find him in church to get the offering. We couldn't find in church to lock the church door up. Where is the elder? There ain't nobody knows. Then he starts sneaking out without saying bye and no protocol. I'm like, man, that filly must be that good. and so you got divorced quietly.
Yes.
You came into counseling.
Yes.
Your soul was healed and continue to be healed, because there's healings and there's healings and there's healings and there's peelings and there's healings, there's peelings and there's healings, there's levels of healings. And you think that because when you get surgery and they take that malignant tumor out, healing doesn't start immediately. Healing takes time. They tell you rest.
Yes.
They tell you get sleep. They tell you check your diet.
Yes.
They tell you don't do too much stuff, don't lift too much stuff. And I wonder how much times when people come into ministries and they get saved, that they get a chance to sit
My God.
and dry out and not be picked off for their gifts.
Yes.
Or they don't flaunt their gifts as an escapism to continue in their trauma. Because and Nykky, by the way, when I said to her, it's time, and I want you to minister, and as a song, it's a song. She's like, what's the song? I was like, okay, never mind, just sing, just sing. Okay, never mind. That word is just too big for you. Never mind. And she was like,
See, I can.
And she's like, I don't know. I said, I'm not asking you what you know. My job is to pull out of you what you didn't think was there. Talk to me about the first time you were able to minister when you were given, now you're being affirmed in a clean way, no strings attached.
Yes.
Tell me about that feeling.
It was a feeling of freedom, a feeling of is assuring that you can go, you're safe, you can go.
You're worthy to sing.
You're worthy to sing. And you've been chosen to. This is for you to do. It's not about anybody else around you. This is your task. Handle it with care. And scared because I don't know what a psalmist is. I have no idea. I didn't even know I had a gift to sing. I mean, this is something that was developed in the other church, but never led anything a day in my life. So when you put the mic in my hand and say, go forward, I just closed my eyes and just go. And that's all I knew, and was ready to learn whatever I could, and still is. But it's I'm very grateful for that opportunity, and you're teaching me and pushing me to go and sing. Because I mean, I still don't know what a psalmist exactly is. I'm still learning.
But you know, and at no means we need to continue this because this is such a glorious story because they need to hear about who you are now. But time is upon us, Pastor Brown. Also, when you were dealing with the trauma of wholeness
Right.
and the trauma of manhood and the trauma of the rejection that nobody wanted you except the community lady and the
Yes.
people in the community. When you finally settle down and say, wait a minute, I have a bride. I am a bride, even though
Yes.
you're a man.
Right.
I am a bride. I've been given a bride. And now I need to take my place.
Yes. And you mentioned when the scar, when you expose the scar, also it can heal. If you keep it covered, there's no healing. It festers. And part of what I was dealing with was there was no exposure. There was no, or my inlet was not an outlet. And so when I started getting into the point that, you know what, this is not a game. This is serious. And it's no time to pretend. So that the realness of who a person is can escape that past. It's not that I'm erasing it. I'm escaping it. I'm getting out of that hole. You know how a plane escapes the dynamics and it gets into flight. And once it gets off, then it knows. And you preached about soul one time. Man, do we ever want to deal with the soul?
Oh man, that's a good question. And we're opening up doors and gates that, you know, it's that time again. Oops. Man, as the conversation is getting good because Nykky's now in a new church home where she is being introduced to counseling and going to get that little 9-year-old girl that was traumatized while at home, seeing all kinds of stuff, and then decided to escape it, thinking she was escaping it, but ran into the trap of Satan by dancing and being on a pole and doing the things that nobody wants, you know, at that time, their daughters to do it, and didn't know because, you know, when you're behind the gates,
Yes.
you don't know people have real lives going on out there.
That's right.
So when they start telling you their story, you're shocked and you're sanctimonious and you're pontificating and you're like, and then you start in your mind can label people
Yes.
and you may put them in position based on their past. So we got to be careful of that. And here's this daughter. She came, she went through all the trauma right away. The spirit of wisdom showed me this beautiful woman, but in a little girl form, with her hands clasped together like she always do still, wanting to please because of trauma. And then you as a man, the rejection and pursuing and then getting your wife and your bride, and then she is separated and then she comes together and you have to stop striving
Yes.
to know that you are worthy. And so we're dealing with worth here.
Right.
But we've got to go. This is your prophetic purpose pusher, Pastor D. I hope something was said. And I hope that these stories will allow you to unmask yours, to tap into yours, and to say, Lord, here I am. I'm exposing all of me
Yes.
because you already see me, and make me a Bethel. Make me a place of worship. Make me a place where you can abide. And I don't have to strive, but I maintain my stride in you. And that my future is bright in you because of the promises. So, until the next time, remember, we serve a good, good God
Yes.
who wants to do good, good things in our good, good life. Run on and see what the end is going to be. And if you're in darkness or in an abusive situation, if you're out there dancing or if you're behind in prison or jail because of life's issues, remember there's a hope, and his name is Jesus. And there's love waiting for you. And no matter how undone you are, no matter how wretched you are, the blood still speaks. And you are a candidate for grace and love. Until the next time, see you soon.